friends, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Hookup with Crochet Me Zaddy. We are still here with our resident guest, Croutonscrochet, and in this episode we're talking about strategies and challenges for social media and crafts. So let's get right into it. Alrighty, so welcome back everyone. Here we are in episode 2 with myself, Crochet Me Zaddy, and Naomi from Croutonscrochet. And let's start talking about challenges and strategies with social media.
Yes, I'm so excited for this topic. I feel like I already kept accidentally talking about it in the first section because I'm so excited to talk about this.
No, well, I mean, that was one of the things is talking about your social media growth and getting to where you are now. I mean, a lot of it has to do with strategies and the challenges you face as a creator. And so, I mean, even going off that where we just were in the previous episode, did you really find some strategies developing as you're growing your account?
Yeah, I would say as I some of it was very purposeful, and some of it was probably just more kind of accidental that I didn't really realize I was doing. But I think a lot of it did become purposeful, or I would be sometimes I'd reverse figure it out. I'd be okay, so this video did well. Let me try to figure out and reverse engineer why did that do well? How can I break this down now that it did do well? Instead of, going from just trying to figure out posting something, assuming it will do well, if that makes sense. So sometimes that's sort of, I think, how I developed some strategies was just actually posting stuff and trying to figure it out from there and see if I can replicate it in somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's only once you've got some kind of social media data or some experience knowing what your content is, what the reaction to your content is then you can really start growing from there. I mean, you can't really gauge if your video is going to do well if you haven't posted anything like it before.
Yeah.
Because do you have a formula to your
I would say I do. I try to not stick to only one formula because I found myself doing that for a while, and then my content got a bit stale, and I think my views and stuff were going down a little bit because it was just I got too stuck in the same ways. But I have a basic formula, and and kind of the ways I suggest for people is yeah, everyone always jokes that I'm always just pointing.
Yeah, and it works.
Thank you. That is a huge thing I do. Everyone always just making fun, but it's it works. And I feel because I don't know about you, but I get kind of sick of all the videos where people just put text on a B-roll clip, and it's just you know what I mean? It's just and they use the same B-roll clip 10 times. And they just change the text. And I'm it's a bit, you know what I mean? And I tell people, you should use B-roll footage occasionally. it's very helpful. But I'm when sometimes I'm okay, just, if you're posting the same thing, come on, at least film something different, right? So I'm at least this way I can, do that a million times.
Wait, so what's the difference between, the B-roll and you pointing at your text above your head?
Well, I think what I would say is, at least, I point different every time.
Sometimes it's two hands.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look up.
That is true. Or sometimes I do a nod. No, I'm kidding. But it is just it is basically the same thing. It's just kind of my own way of doing that because, again, a lot of the B-roll footage involves an aspect of aestheticness, which I don't really have. So for me, this is kind of my own version of doing I guess the B-roll type thing is just, I don't have very nice, pretty things that I can be doing and have text make my own way to have text.
Are you talking about the ones where you the sunset is out and you're on this aesthetic looking porch and you're
yeah,
crocheting something and then you chuck on the text?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
To be fair, a video that I've got popping off right now is me at my boyfriend's house sitting down with a cup of tea and starting to crochet, being oh, I can't make it here, I have to cancel the plans, and it's my plan.
Oh, I saw that video.
Yeah, that's popping off and it keeps being reshared everywhere, and I'm okay.
No, but I'm not a hater towards the B-roll videos.
No.
But it was just, I'm just not good with the aesthetic things to do it myself.
No, what I mean, what I'm understanding from what you're saying is it's more about the variety of things. If you're just doing that post over and over. If I did that so many times over, people would be Zach, do you ever just not relaxing? Do you ever do anything else?
Yeah, because I had a while, I had some videos that did really well, and it was think, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, which food animal would they pick? And those videos, I had a few that did really well, so I kept doing those. And recently I was scrolling back on an old post of mine, and I was oh my, I did sometimes like 2 or 3 of those in the same week. I'm like, what was I thinking? And like then those videos started doing bad. Like nobody wants to see, like if you shared it once, you're not going to share like 10 of those videos. So like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like you sometimes get a bit too like, if you're like, oh, well, this worked, it's like, yeah, but you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect to always get the best results, right? And that's why I think like experimenting and trying new things and like switching things up is always a good idea.
Yeah. And I feel like you come up with like certain formulas for certain videos. Like I have the classic one, which is me and my yarn ball. And I start the video and I start with like a little bounce, which I feel like is another strategy to always start with a quick shift of action. I heard that
Actually,
one.
that is like a visual hook. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. There you go, everyone. Strategy tip number 1. Anyway, I always start with like a bounce and I'm like holding my hook and I'm holding the yarn and I look up and it's like, can you make this? And then I like either I like swish past and it's got the finished creation, or I swish past into like a montage of me making it.
Yeah.
Those montage videos take so long to film.
Oh yeah, I know. I hate doing any of those kinds of videos. I mean, like sometimes I'm really proud whenever I make one, but I very rarely do because they just take so long.
Yeah, but they do well.
Yeah, like it is. I do think people, like especially over time, you do get like sort of like a style and like a kind of like formulas, which are really handy. And I would say the easiest one that basically anyone can do, which isn't like, you know, as specific of a formula, but basically you want a hook on screen. You can either have yourself there, you can point if you're like me, or you can like, you know, whatever it is, you can have a background. You can even just film outside your yarn wall, whatever you want, with some sort of hook that's going to grab people's attention. And then you reveal what it is. And like, even just doing that is a step above just show, like, you know, just a video where the whole video is just you showing off a plushie, right? Like, wait, so that way people are waiting to see the reveal, right? So like things like that, I think, are really helpful. And what I consider kind of like when you take a step from making just content to or just making a video to show off what you crocheted. I've always been trying to figure out the best way to word this, but I don't know, like shifting towards like the idea of just making content itself. Like I think that's when you can get a lot better results. Like I think that for me was a huge shift, was when I started not just thinking about, okay, I need a video to show off this stuffed animal I made, but like how am like I just need to make content, right? And I think that sort of you can start getting a bit more creative and like, I don't know, experiment more with what you're actually making.
Yeah. And like, what would you describe as like some good examples of hooks for people? Or what is a hook?
Oh yeah, so a hook is basically something that's going to stop people from scrolling because you're hooking them in and grabbing their attention. So like, well, one that I did that got like a few million views was like when I decided to turn or when I decided to combine a taco and a dinosaur, and then like I'm just showing the yarn, and then I like transition and I show the finished like Tacosaurus, and I think that's one because people are like, okay, well, what the heck would that look like? Like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? So for that one's more just like a confusion one, but they're like, you want to see what it's going to be, right? So like that's a pretty simple one. Or you can do basically anything that in some way or another is going to interest people. So you could do like something like, you know, top 3 things I learned about blank, because, you know, then people are going to want to see all 3 of them. So like that's another example. Basically anything to do to just get people in. And I think that really is, in my opinion, one of the biggest keys for social media is hooks, because you need people to stop scrolling, and it's harder and harder to get people to stop scrolling because there's so much content available that you have to do whatever you can to like, please stop, watch this. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And like, I know that's very specific for, I mean, it's specific for YouTube Shorts, it's specific for Reels, TikTok. Do you find that there's like different strategies for the different social medias, or do you kind of just post whatever across all of them, or like the same across all of them?
At this point, I post, I mean, since I do this full time, I feel like I should post separately on different things, but I don't. I post, basically, I've decided to make my priority now Instagram. Like, I think it's a lot easier if you pick one platform to sort of as your priority. So Instagram's my priority, so I basically tailor all my content for that. But I will also post a lot of my videos on TikTok and YouTube. You know, like TikTok actually nowadays prefers like a bit longer form content versus like Instagram's still a bit more shorter. So like there is obviously benefit. Like it's very hard to make content that's like everything is happy with to the same extent, at least. Like, you know, if a video is good enough, it can do well on all platforms. But typically, you know, depending on the kind of content, it might be favored on one platform versus the other. I think if someone were to be posting a different video every day on each platform, that would be like, I mean, kudos to them. I feel like that'd be really hard. So I think for me, I just had to pick one. And that's what I'd recommend for a lot of people is post on more than one platform, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, I mean, while they're talking about like, you know, the TikTok bans or whatever in the States, like it's not going to put all, or like, let's say your account gets hacked. Like, you should just never have all your eggs in one basket. but it is easier probably to focus and have one as like your main priority and the other one sort of as like a just, secondary thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like for me, I mean, it's so strange because I edit all my things in TikTok. I get all my trends from TikTok, everything like that, and then I just post it all on Instagram. Because there is like that trickle effect where it's like trends from TikTok will slowly make their way to Instagram and then very slowly make their way to YouTube. Like YouTube is very far behind on some of those posts. I'm scrolling through some, and I was like, "Isn't this a trend from like 2022?" I was like, what is this still doing on here?"
That's hilarious.
No, it's honestly it's weird. Anyway, but like, because would you, if you're going to describe like between, let's just say YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, what would you describe like what a successful creator looks like each of them? Like, is there a certain strategy for each type, or a certain type of personality that should go for each one?
Yeah, I would say TikTok nowadays is better if you again are comfortable making more longer form content. If you want to be talking to the camera, if you maybe want to show your whole process, from like start to finish, things like that. That's where I'd say like you'd probably be better off nowadays on TikTok.
Yeah.
And also, there's still trends and things like that, but just generally they like longer form content slightly.
Yeah, trends have kind of, for me, I feel like trends have kind of slowed down on TikTok. It's very odd over there.
Yeah, a lot, I'd say. Because it's very hard to, again, if you're pushing longer form content, like how many trends can you have if you're, you know what I mean? Like, so definitely it's going away from that more. But and then I'd say like YouTube, I mean, it depends, like, I guess shorts versus like, regular YouTube, which I haven't done much of, but I'm working on it. But like I'd say, I don't even know about YouTube shorts, but like I'd say like in general for YouTube is more like personality a bit, like if you're making actual YouTube videos. Shorts, I don't know. I mean, my shorts do okay. I just kind of repost from Instagram, but I don't know if I fully understand it yet. So
yeah, YouTube. The only insights I've got on YouTube Shorts is I'm finding like my educational videos do so much better over there, and I'm like, okay.
Honestly, my views are kind of like more higher than I expected, considering like that when my account was like quite new, but like they're not like incredible, but I would say I don't have too many insights on there. For me, like I never personally use YouTube Shorts, so like I haven't like dived as deep into like learning about it myself. I just kind of started posting on there because I want to start using my YouTube more, which hopefully I will. I keep saying that, but one day I'll start posting more regularly. And then for Instagram, I would say, like, from the way I see it, is Instagram, I think there's a bit of a broader spectrum in terms of like there is now, I think, like short videos are very like do well, and I think especially compared to like TikTok now, like that's where if there's a trend or something, like shorter videos, trending sounds, that's more kind of leaning towards Instagram. But I do think there is a benefit for having a bit longer form content, like obviously not like long, but like let's say like a minute or close to that. I think usually those videos don't do as well, but I think the engagement can be quite, and Instagram is starting to favor watch time a lot more, so there is definitely benefits to that too. So like I say a mix of both content. Like I only now I'm starting to do like a bit slightly longer form content, just to experiment with it and see where it goes. But yeah, I found a mix of success on Instagram.
Yeah, and like, for me, I'm finding like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, whatever, like all the different like social media groups. So you got like the TikToks, you got the Google is YouTube, I think it is, and then you've got Meta for Facebook, Instagram, Threads. They're all trying to push literally all the same different like things, but everything all at once recently, and it's so confusing to try to figure out what is the best strategy. Because like even like you talked about it the other day on your Instagram, they're like TikTok Notes is now out, which is like a photo app for TikTok, which is
I have not figured out much about how that works. I'm still figuring out how that one works. But yeah, it's like how many apps can we have? And like it gets a bit crazy.
It's like, well, because like YouTube is known for long form videos, but they're starting to push their shorts, and you can also post photos over there now, or still. And then TikTok is trying to push for longer form videos, but now they're trying to push for photos. And then Instagram more recently, like carousels have been doing well. I still say short form videos is still the number one globally, but like it feels like everyone right now is just trying to grab like a monopoly on content. Like,
that's so true. Yeah, and I think that is a thing that's happening right now. And it's just like this weird thing where it's like, well, how do you know what the heck to post at this point and where? And
Yeah.
because it's a bit overwhelming, I'd say. And I do think you're right. It basically is just they're trying to get a monopoly on it. And so like the best way to do that is to have options for all of it. But then it's like, okay, but then if every platform has all those options,
what are you known for?
Yeah, what are you known for? Because it used to be obviously like Instagram used to be videos, or sorry, it used to be photos, and then TikTok was videos, and now it's like, well, both of them now allow both, and now there's a whole app. Yeah, it gets very confusing.
And now there's Threads, which I love Threads. I'm a big Threadser.
Yeah, no, you got me back on Threads. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, Threads is fun. Like it's still like an OpenScape, and like I get so excited by that. And so like with the news of TikTok Notes coming out, being a photo app, I'm also like, ooh, what do I get to do here? But also very aware I'm going to be stretching myself so thin across all of these, which is I feel like a bad strategy.
Like I've had times where I'm like, well, you know, maybe I should also do like focus on doing like a Facebook page or like a Pinterest and actually run that. And like that one, if you add in everything, it's like you'd be like having no time to actually crochet. You know what I mean? You're just like only making content.
I'm not touching Pinterest. I can like I heard they're like one of the best for paying creators, but all
I could say is I don't have it set up to get like paid or anything. I just have my Shopify connected. So when I post like when I make a new project on Shopify, it will post it. I don't even understand how Pinterest works. I made like a couple pins. People can see it and they're telling me about these notifications, but it's not like actually my pins. I don't know. Okay. So I don't know the details, but all I can say is like, but I get like 1 million views a month on it. So like, I don't know how it works, and people are like, oh yeah, I found you on Pinterest. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it's posting, but it's posting something from
yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's working.
Then I tried to like make my own. I was like, wow, some of these are doing well. Let me actually try to make pins, and they all flop. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what it's doing, but I'll just let it do its own thing.
Yeah, no, it feels like it almost feels like it's like a Google Images, and you're like, well, I guess I'm on people's search.
Yeah,
engines.
I couldn't tell you how to use it personally, but.
Do you actually, speaking of that, with your content, do you try optimize to search engine? What is it, SEO?
I did a little bit. I think like it's helpful. Like, you know, like let's say the easiest way to do it is like not to overcomplicate it. Like if you're talking about like ranking on Google and stuff, it's like that's more confusing. But there's like the basics for like social media is basically think about like what kind of things would someone search on Instagram or on TikTok, and how can you use that in a way? And I think one of the hard things is making it natural.
Yeah.
Because like you don't want to be like, this crochet pattern is really fun, beginner friendly crochet pattern. Like, you know what I mean? Like it can sound so awkward depending on how you do it. But I try to do it like, for instance, a tip I give sometimes to people is like, instead of saying, like, let's say my video, I'm showing off my Tacosaurus pattern. Instead of saying, I love this pattern, I could say something about like my taco dinosaur pattern or my Tacosaurus pattern, right? Because like, I mean, not that that's necessarily the best, you know, keyword, but like by using the specific instead of saying this or it and things like that, that's just like kind of an easy way you can like get some of those words in there. But I do it a little bit. I don't put the biggest emphasis on it. It's interesting because like people nowadays more than ever are using social media as their search engines. So like it is helpful, but like let's say Instagram's like, oh yeah, we're really pushing SEO. But in my opinion, their search engine function is not very good. So I'm like, I don't know how. I'm like, okay.
Have you got the update now, which is like the meta search?
Oh yeah, I just got that. Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's creeps me out a little bit. And like, okay, it made me search car crash videos. I don't know. That was just like a suggestion for me. I was like, I don't want this.
Get me off this.
Why would it suggest that to me?
Yeah, because like it's making it harder to search for people that I'm trying to search for. I keep searching for everything around it. And I'm like, no.
I can't give much insight on that, but I find it odd. I don't know what it's going to do, but...
Yeah, and like normally with like one of my number one golden rules of social media is if there is a new like feature on any social media, like jump on it. Just start using it. Like don't worry about like whether it's the right way to use it. Just jump on it. Like because that app is trying to push that out. Like that app is trying to make that their like next big thing in a way. So if you're at the forefront as like a pioneer in that feature, then that app is going to push you out there, which is what I'm finding with Threads as well. Like that's why I've now got into some of those chats with Meta directly because I've just been out there like being like, I love threads.
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about things on there.
I mean, you encouraged me to get back on it, so yeah.
Yeah, everyone get on threads.
Yes. No, and it is because because Instagram's really pushing it, you really want to get on there because that means more and more people are on it right now because Instagram is doing all these calls and on the calls they're telling everyone to get on threads. So it's if you're gonna get on it now. Broadcast channels too. They told me to get one, so I have that too now. Those were features where I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm nervous about like, you know, and so like I put off of it and now I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna put off stuff anymore. Like so that's why I got TikTok notes, which I still think I have 0 followers on there. Like I think I have 0.
I'll follow you.
I thank you. But like I don't know how it works. But I'm like I need my 1 follower, please. But like I don't know how it works yet. But like at least I'm in there, and maybe it will help. Who knows?
Yeah, start posting because they'll probably have it connected to like somewhere else in their TikTok systems, and it'll like about this person is posting a note, so let's boost their account across the other side as well. Like it won't be separated. The other feature I'm really enjoying right now is on Instagram is the putting votes and like putting polls in my videos.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I have to use that more. I had fun with it a little bit.
Have you seen what I've been putting in my polls and stuff? There's one where it's a video of me being like, what, are you stupid? And then I like get up and I do a little like booty drop and stuff. But in the video it's like I think I put in the poll, it's like bring back bullying and like it's okay to bully your friends.
I think I did vote bring back bullying.
Yeah. I'm just like I just like post like the most stupid things in there, and I never in any poll that I ever put out there, I never let people say no.
That's smart, yeah.
Like I'm always like, are you excited for my new pattern? And it's like yes, or yes, but in red. Because would you say with like just going directly on strategies, do you have like a maybe top 3 tips?
My 3 biggest things is use a hook. Text hook is the easiest, but like you said, a visual hook too. If you can combine all those, even better. But you know, start simple, some sort of hook. I would say try to post consistently, which does not mean having to post every day, and it does not mean like, you know, everyone always like freaks out when they hear that word, I feel. But it just means like, even if it's once a week or like, I don't know, even once a month, just start with something so that you have a schedule. And that doesn't have to mean that you post, you know, you have everything else figured out in advance, but just something so that you stay a bit consistent because it's helpful for the algorithm. People, whether they know it or not, then can kind of like get used to seeing you on certain days or like, you know, however often, whatever. And that's just helpful for like building connections.
Yeah.
And also it's helpful for you to make sure you're posting in a good, like consistent way. Cause it's not very helpful if you're posting like 5 times in 1 week and then you don't post for like 3 weeks, right? Like if you could spread out that content, that could be a lot, you know, more helpful, right? So because it's just, so that's what I suggest would be probably one of my other biggest tips. A third one, I would say, honestly, just be comfortable with being a bit uncomfortable. Cause like that's like, you're not gonna feel comfortable when you're first making content. It's awkward. You're gonna feel awkward. You're gonna be like, why is my hand doing that? What, like, whether you're on camera or not, like you're gonna hate something about like videos you make when you first start out. Even still to this day, sometimes, you know, I'm like, why was I doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I think it's just like you will get more comfortable the more you do it, even if you don't feel like you will. I feel like it's like a 180 that I've done. Like I used to be so worried about how I'd look and like I wouldn't post it if like I didn't like this little thing about me or whatever. And now it's like I probably would be horrified if I knew what I look like in most of my videos nowadays. But it's just one of those things you get more comfortable with, and practice makes perfect, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I say that one a lot. It's just like you just have to post and it's just going to get better. Like even doing this like podcast today, like this is my first, like I've done like the casual yarns lives back in the day, but this is my first like podcast thing and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. And like I know this episode might be a little bit shoddy or it might be a bit iffy in some ways, but I was like, but the next one's going to be better. And then the one after that's going to be better. Might be better guests potentially, but
yeah, I was like, I think this is going to be the best one you ever do.
Yeah, this will be the best one. This is the debut.
Yeah, come on. You're never going to top this one.
This episode will be treasured by me as my debut episode, and that's important. It's like your first crochet project. You have to like treasure it forever, but you will improve.
Yeah. Okay. Great. But no. Yeah. I think that is honestly, I'd say one of the biggest tips is just Get out there, do it.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like some content I have like drafts sitting in my phone. I'm like, is this even funny? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, well, actually, I'll let the audience decide. You know that one girl in that video? She's like, you know what I'm about? No.
No, I don't think I know that one.
See what the audience decides, and it's like the girl in the restaurant.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Don't worry. Don't worry. People in the comments, let me know if you know my video. But in going from like your top 3 strategies, what are your like top 3 like stop that? No. Don't do that in your content, because this is also very fun to talk about.
And I want to hear your top 3 don't do's are too, because I'm curious. Okay, I would say one of mine would definitely be, okay, I just think people, it's too big of, and I get why people do it, but like complaining about the algorithm too much is like, I'm sorry, but like people are like, it's impossible. Like the algorithm hates me. Like I hate that term. Oh my God. Like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But I'm starting to, because you're being so annoying.
Yeah, no, and like I get it, and I understand the frustration because like everyone's been there, but I feel like half people will say that, and then, or they're like, I've tried everything, and then look at their page, I'm like, I don't think you have. Like, it's just realistic. I'm like, I feel like you've tried like nothing. Like, not in a mean way, but you know what I mean? I'm like, none of your videos ever have had text in it. You've never used a trending audio. I'm like, I don't expect people to know all that. But then it's like, you can't say that, if you haven't tried to investigate these things and then you just jump to like the algorithm hates you, I feel like there's a disconnect there, right? So like,
yeah,
sometimes you have to like do some research and try to figure stuff out. And it's not necessarily the easiest, which is again one of the reasons I try to give a bunch of social media advice. But at the same time, it's like, you've got to try, because you can't just like it's not as easy just to get lucky nowadays on social media, because there's just so much content.
Yeah, I mean, like, to follow on from that, what you're saying, like, trying to get the most viral video is not a goal you should have.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, don't. Like, you don't know what's going to go viral. No one's in control of that. Just let it be.
I have literally a whole section in my audits that I put in there often, especially if people ever say, like, when I ask them, like, what are your goals? If they ever say, like, oh, I just want, like, to get a viral video song, I have this whole section I put in there saying, this is why you don't want a viral video. And it's not saying you don't actually want one, but it should not be your goal. And, like, I even use some of my videos as proof. I'm like, hey, this video got, like, 2 million views, and it only got, like, it got 100, 200 followers, versus this video, before it had 100K views, I got 1,000 new followers from it because of, and I go through the reasons why, but like just getting views doesn't necessarily mean much. A lot of times then you might even be attracting the right people. And like the last thing you want is a bunch of followers that aren't engaged with like what you actually want to be posting. And I think it's a big mistake people make. And I've had accounts with decent sized followings reach out to me, a lot of times what their issue is that they kept posting a kind of video that would do really well, but that had nothing to do with like what their actual goals were. So now everyone's there for that one specific thing, but that's not how they're making money. And that's not their own creations. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not what their goal is. So now they're like, well, when I post my own stuff, no one is excited about it. I'm like, yeah, see, like that's where you're getting the disconnect, right? And so like, and that just sucks. Like that's disappointing to have grown that, thing, and that then those people not care about what you care about and what you're trying to do, right? So they definitely focus on growing a following of people that actually like you and your content, not just whoever you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. So the classic one that I can think of is when people have like a fan on in the background. It grinds my gears. Or they'll like start their video and they'll be like, sorry, there's a fan on in the background. And you can't really it's so distracting. Or it's just like, what are you doing? I was like, at least put in some effort. Like,
no, that reminds me, like I think one that gets me sometimes is like, when someone will film something like really low light and you can't really see stuff. And I'm like, because what I always say is like, I always tell people, first of all, natural lighting, like I don't expect people to be lighting experts. I am not. Just natural lighting is like your friend. Just remember, you see your stuffed animal in real life. You can see it at all the different angles. You can see it, whatever. Someone can only see it through the screen. They can only see what you're showing them. If it's not perceived well through the camera, like no one knows magically all those little details that you can see in person. So like, you have to make sure it is like, looks good and makes sense for being actually visualizing what it is.
Yeah. And also, I mean, sorry, I've got so many little things to talk about on this one, which is also transition videos. Make sure you edit them that you actually is a transition and it's not a clip of you being like, it kills me every time.
I put that transition video today because like it was slightly like I made it like 5 times and I don't always transition ones, and it just didn't fully work out, but I posted anyways. But I almost, like, I was so tempted to post, like, it unedited, because it was so funnily, like, me just trying to figure out, like, what to do with my hand and when to move it. And I was like, honestly, that would have been, like, I almost wanted to just to be like, like, what the hell is this?
You should. Why not?
I know, I might, maybe I will. I have like 10 of them on my phone of just like my hand just like attempting to like do the right positioning. But yeah, so I definitely agree with that one. It's really, like, it's not that hard to like crop them, but like if you get that little bit in there, just like, it's like it ruins the whole thing.
Yeah. You gotta be very precise with that one. And also, like, if you're doing a talking video, I always tell people just to edit out the ums, the ahs, and the because people want to see the snappy talking and cut through it. Like, I'm probably gonna cut through this whole thing and edit out a lot of the
No, so yeah, and that's one of the things why I haven't done much YouTube yet, is because I'm so bad with that, and I hate, like, I drive myself crazy in listening back, and I'm like, why? Like, yeah, it drives me crazy.
I am a serial ummer. Like, all my videos is literally me just cutting out my arms, and that's what takes me so long to edit.
I'm like, how did I say that many times in like a minute? I just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I say so a lot. I'm like, I will go, so now we're gonna do this, and so, and I'm like, ugh. Okay, going back to like more challenges versus just the strategies, because I feel like a lot of these strategies would be things that you talk about in your audit that you have over on your Instagram. Is that the best place to find it?
Yeah. I'm not accepting them right now, but I will be accepting them again soon. So keep an eye out.
There we go. So keep an eye out, folks. So with the challenges, one of the things I wanted to ask was, one, with your brand specifically, because you have the brand of like food, animals, and comfort. Food, animals, and comfort. Do you feel like sometimes that's kind of hindered your ability to expand your content in some ways?
I think a little bit, in the sense that like obviously it's very specific what I do, and like I find like I have so many ideas of the future food animals I want to do, that like I have like ridiculous, like, you know, like I don't feel like stifled creatively there, at least at this point. Like I have so many ideas and I'm excited to make them all, but I do think there is a level of like, it is so specific, and then like, you know, the people who want that, who like the food animals, and the people that say who like want my social media advice, they're not always the same, because people, you know, a lot of crocheters would want my social media advice, but they don't give a crap about my food animals, right? And like, so there is like a weird like balance you kind of have to do there, and sometimes it does cause me a bit of stress. I'm like, oh, like, do I want to be talking too much about this one or the other thing, and like worried that I'm gonna like make a brand too much about one thing, and then, you know, maybe my followers, I'll be getting less of followers that want the other thing, and like how that works. So like, it is definitely an interesting thing to juggle when you have any sort of like multiple different like things that don't necessarily like completely intersect. But I think for me, it's been okay. I do think the more you like narrow yourself down, though, it can be like, I think for me, if I let myself get like creative with my content sometimes and just have fun with it, I think if I set like too specific expectations, or I was like, my brand is this, and it needs to be, you know, this aesthetic, it needs to be this, blah, 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 then I think I would feel miserable, and I'd feel very like trapped in there, because like that is just not the kind of person I am, and I just like to be able to get creative and just have fun with things. So like for me, I feel like I've allowed myself to do that a bit, but like definitely there are some times when I'm kind of trying to make sure I don't like focus too much on one thing versus the other, and like juggling how people, like what kind of people are coming here to see, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like we all have our creator burnout. Would you say that's something that would like lead towards that, and like how would you deal with it?
Yeah, I think I could. Like, I don't think I felt like true burnout from creating content yet, luckily, thankfully. But like, I've gotten sometimes where I'm like, oh, I don't want to film videos today, but I kind of need more videos. Luckily, I like usually film a lot of content at once, so like then I can like post over time. So if I don't feel like filming content for a bit, it's not a big deal. I really try not to like force myself to make content unless like I really need stuff, because I just find like, if I get in the habit of that, then it becomes a chore and it's not fun and spontaneous and creative.
Yeah.
Because usually how it'll go is I'll be like, okay, I should film a video today, or like I'll have an idea for a video, and then as I'm filming it, I'll come up with like another idea, or like maybe two ideas. I'm like, oh, and that would be fun, and I could do this, and then that's sort of how I naturally just come up with more and more ideas. So like it feels fun, spontaneous, and natural versus like just sitting down and it being like a rigid like job I have to do kind of thing. But I do think it can, like, sometimes I get a bit annoyed when it's like, I'm like, shoot, I have all these, because I find I go through phases where I'm like, if I'm trying to film a video on like social media content and stuff and advice, then like I'll start obviously coming up with more ideas like that. So I'll film a bunch of videos like about that topic, and then I'm like, well, shoot, now either I'm gonna have like 2 weeks where I don't even mention like my crochet patterns or anything, or like now I have to film this other stuff, right? So sometimes it does get a bit frustrating trying to like balance that, or I'll be like, I really want to post this video, but I already posted, the last couple of days about this, so I don't want to, shove that down people's throat too much. So there is like definitely a bit of that, and it hasn't led to burnout for me personally. But at the end of the day, for me, the way I look at it and try to avoid it is like trying to post what I want. Like, this is not what I would suggest. I recommend people, so I don't follow my own advice on this one.
Okay.
And you should plan stuff out in advance if you can. One thing I do to avoid burnout is I literally decide what video I'm going to post every day, like on the day, because I think that's fun. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to post this one today. Like, so that's something I do to like it, but like, which means I don't always post at the same time. And sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I did not post today until later in the day. But like, usually I'm pretty good now. But for me, that was like, even though that's not necessarily the best advice, for me, I found that's one of the elements I get excited about is deciding which one to post. So I like that being something I do every day. And so I've made sure to keep that, so that like it's kind of like a fun thing for me, right? So that's like, I'd say kind of how like one way I try to like balance out those things a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, how do you maintain that? Like, I mean, with making so much content so consistently, how do you remain like feeling authentic in some ways to your audience? I
think like that's why I like to just make stuff up as I go. Honestly, sometimes I'll even like whenever I come up with a content idea, I'll write it down and then I'll be excited about it, and then I find out filming it at that moment, and then I go to film it. I'm like, I don't want to do that one now. Like, I'm just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not in the moment now. I just don't want to. So like for me, it's like I really just film in the moment of what I want to film, and I just try to be myself and open and honest. Like, I know things are not going to be polished. Sometimes, my videos won't be like perfect. I think, if you have the cornerstones of like, good lighting, hooks, whatever, like then you can have more leeway with some of those things. And so I just like try to keep authentic as much as I can by like just being real and honest about how I film and like my setup, whatever, everything. I just sort of like don't plan things so meticulously, because I feel like for some people, that's what they love that. And if they're the type of person who does that, then that's probably like on trend for them. But for me, I'm not. So like when people are like, yeah, you should have like, film, like decide in advance what you're going to do for every day of the week. Like, I'm like, that would just, it would feel so like, that would feel so forced.
No, it wouldn't work for me either.
Yeah. So I think it's just honestly doing what I feel like.
Yeah. And actually the authenticity thing is something I want to bring up in the next part about the future of crochet and social media, because I think it is a trend that's coming in. But one thing I wanted to ask about was, this is another trend that I've heard of very loosely, and it's really stuck in my mind, and it's about being also absent as a strategy. So rather than posting every single day, it's like letting yourself have a moment to breathe and letting the people like miss you as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had any thoughts around that I've heard it once or twice before, and I was like, that is so interesting, and I don't know how I would make my mind up about that, but what would you say in reaction?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think like I can see both sides of that. Like for me, honestly, one of the other reasons I post every day now is because I like it. Like, I feel like I always post what I want to post. For me, it would kind of be like, if I had to scale back, I'm like, oh, man, like, shoot. So, like, for me, I just love to, but I do get that idea of that, because sometimes I do think I'm like, well, I am posting a lot. Like, if someone wasn't on Instagram that one day, like, if they're going to see, like, 5 of my videos in a row, if they've missed a couple days, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be, like, feel like I'm sparing people stuff. And I do feel like it is a lot. So I could see some benefit to that, and I also could see why that's beneficial for people, especially because a lot of people do get burnt out from trying to post. Honestly, like when I first heard people saying like, "Oh, you should be posting every day," I was like, "That is insane." Anyone who does that is like crazy. Like I was like, I can't understand how people do that. Like now, it's obviously as you post more, it's easier to keep making content. I feel like once you get like the hang of it, but I totally understand that it's not for everybody, and I'd say like if that's not for you, don't force yourself to, because you're gonna burn out, and then you're probably not going to post for like weeks because you're miserable. Like, you're like, I just can't do it, right?
I always say make content for you that you would enjoy Like,
Yeah.
because then you bring in the audience that's more related to you as a creator. Like, and I think that's a part of the authenticity thing as well. Like, but even for me, normally every morning is when I film my videos. Like, I'm very much like, I will film and edit on the day and post it that day. And if I film like 2 or 3 videos that day, I post it again that night. Like, I post one in the morning, one at night, and then one the next morning. I'm like, I get too excited by like what I've created.
Yeah, no, I'm so I always.
If I let it sit there for a while, I'll get the ick on my own video.
I know. I have so many drafts, and some of them were ones I was like, "Oh yeah, this is good," and then I let it sit there for too long because I filmed too much, and then I hate. I have so many drafts, and I don't want to delete them because I'm like, they weren't bad, but now they've given me the ick, and I'm like, oh, I'm over it. Like, I just don't.
Yeah. You're like, this isn't funny. Why did I say that? Why did I film myself doing that trend? I was like, oh.
And then I'll keep looking. I'm like, well, maybe I could post it, and I'll hyper focus on like that thing I hate about it. Like, there was one where I like my mouth open a bit, and like. My tongue made a weird movement, and every time I'd look at it, I'd get mad. I'd be like, I hate this video, and like I would never post it, and it would just make me mad every time. I was like, well, I should post it. I can't.
No one's gonna even notice it apart from you. Okay, well, let's take a break here, and then we'll come back and talk about the future outlook for social media and crochet, as well as a little bit into community engagement and what that looks like in the social media crochet sphere. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Hookup. If you did, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, a comment, engage with the content, whatever it is. I'm not really too sure, to be honest, because I am very new here to the podcast world, but I appreciate you coming along and spending your time here, and I will see you over on the next episode of the pod. See you soon.